Why do I get the feeling you're going to be the death of me? Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Zareth Prevails. I've got Endall Beall here with me, and the hope is that the audio has been fixed. Endall's been kind enough to reshoot the defensive side of the 3v3 teams. Endall, how are you doing today, man?
I'm doing pretty good, pretty good. Glad to be here for the second part of this video. I think there's lots of interesting stuff to talk about.
Absolutely, man. And yeah, so for those of you who did watch the offense video, it was just like so good, and you just couldn't hear it. Is all. So no, we had audio issues. It was my fault, and all wasn't to blame whatsoever. It was me, and we decided probably just keep the offense one out there, but we could reshoot the defense one right before the Gambit fight night. So guys. Before you do anything, please pause this video. Go to the video description, click the link to Endall Beall's YouTube channel. He is 100% must watch GAC, and he's full of great insights. You'll see how it is, but go follow him and then come back and we can talk about 3v3 defense with no GLs. So, uh, yeah, this will be interesting, Endall. We got to rediscuss these squads.
Yes, yes. The previous version was the Shy Ronnie version. If you guys
Yeah.
haven't seen that SNL sketch, I highly recommend you go and check that out. It's funny as hell. But yeah, rediscussing always brings up new points. So glad to talk about it again.
Yeah, yeah, it'll be good. Hopefully, it'll be short enough that we can actually join the Gambit roundtable. So,
Yeah.
um, but okay. So one thing, and all that we discussed in the last video, and just typically, like this is a common theme for you and I when we discuss it. Like at least at the higher division levels, one of the important things about 3v3 defense, well, and 5v5, like you
Yeah.
don't want to give any pushover teams. Like you don't want to make it easy for your opponent.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, you need to like no gimmies, like we've talked about before. You need to make sure that your defense is uniformly tough. Keep good stuff for offense because you need that flexibility to clear as well. But at the same time, there should be nothing easy that your opponent can take to clear you, effectively or with high banners. And you don't have to keep all your GLs on defense, especially if you want to be a little more flexibility. You want at least some of your GLs on offense. But there are tons of tough teams in the 3v3 format which require a really tough team and sometimes a GL to take out. So you need to identify those teams and check your opponent's history, see what they are uncomfortable with, what they've typically taken GLs in the past against, and then keep those kind of teams in the front bottom zone. That's the basic strategy that I usually go with.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's really smart. You want to make sure that like gosh, I just love it when people just give me they're just like whatever. I'm just gonna throw something with Cup in there,
Yeah,
or, like
yeah,
Old Republic or whatever, and I'm like, awesome. That's one team. I just don't have to worry about. I can just throw nothing at it and still get most
yeah,
points. It's nice. So, that being said, the other goal is to spread our roster as much as possible. And so this first
yeah.
squad is kind of the epitome of that. Now, in the offense, if you braved your way through that one, you know that we had a team with let's see, Rex, Five, and Cat on offense. And Endall actually had it, likes it for defense as well. At least in the early phases before we find out like for sure it's going to be awesome. But um, so there's no debating in my mind. Like General Skywalker would be best with Rex and Fives,
Hmm.
but this Echo and Arc Trooper team is like almost identical. If you put it on defense, people have to use the same team to beat it.
Yeah, exactly. And as long as General Skywalker is surrounded by 501st, the 501st are going to get killed no matter what. And when General Skywalker wakes up and then starts countering people, that's the real danger of Skywalker. So it doesn't matter which other two clones are with him or which other two 501st are with him. He's still going to be as dangerous when he stands up. And a single lone Skywalker is equally tough to clean up either way.
Yeah, I think this is the best bang for your buck. I know
Yeah.
some people like to put shock T with these guys, and I can't blame them. Some people want to mod them that way and stuff. That's fine. But as far as clone usage, this is the best combo in my opinion. And on defense, because because they're bad at banners on offense,
Yeah,
frankly.
yeah. That's one thing about the 501st, whether they're under Skywalker or under Rex. All of the 501st are pretty bad with in terms of banners in 3v3, which is why I always keep them on defense. Rex and fives in one team, either with Barris or with another clone, and Skywalker with a couple of clones on defense as well.
Yeah, it just makes me laugh so hard, man. I've stopped warning people, like people who want to use General Skywalker on offense as a solo. Like it works, it does sometimes, even usually. But if you have wise selection, but some people have the worst decision making skills. I'm just like, really, dude, you're gonna just take like General Skywalker into Night Sisters or something, and they just get stun locked and die, and they're like throwing their microphone at the wall, and I'm just like, ah, that was quality entertainment right there.
Yeah.
uh, yeah, I shouldn't be so happy about other people's frustrations, but I am. I am. So, all right, next up, it's kind of what I've thought of as like the king of 3v3. Even though we have Galactic Legends and all of them can beat Darth Revan trio, this the full bastard Darth Revan team. Uh, General Skywalker struggles against everyone besides the Galactic Legends go through Darth Revan. Like
Yeah.
that you can't beat him easily. It's a complex, difficult team to beat.
It is, and I would say, the exception is if you have a faster Darth Revan and faster Basti. You may be able to scrape through on one shot, but apart from that,
Sure.
that's the reason I really mod my Darth Revan really fast, much faster than a 5v5 version. Apart from that, if I see it, because I always keep my Darth Revan on defense, I usually take a GL against it because, especially if I see it in the front wall, I do not want to risk a failure by not taking a GL against it. So this is one of those rare 3v3 non-GL teams which demands GL counter, which is why it's so valuable in the bottom zone.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just such a tough one to dislodge. Like you're right, for the most part, people just use a Galactic Legend because even if you do have a better Darth Revan, faster Revan, faster Basti, like it's so uncertain. Like Malik's
Yeah,
just like I guess I'll do Force Strain. I'll do it again at
yeah,
random times that you end up getting really terrible banners sometimes. Even
yeah,
if you win, even if it's like comfortable, you're like really like
yeah,
49 banners. That was rough.
yeah. And with the introduction of Cat, I thought that Padme might stand a chance just because of the extra health, defense, and also actually did some arena testing with Padme, Jedi Knight Anakin, and Cat, and then again with Padme, GK, and Cat. But even with those, I was unsuccessful against the Darth Revan team. I was at the max able to get Basti out, and in one case, I was able to get Revan out as well. But if Malik decides to drain your Cat or your Anakin, you've got you're left high and dry. So even that didn't work out for me.
Yeah, like Malik does percent health damage. Like
Yeah.
Cat's like, hey, here, have 50% extra health.
Yeah,
Malik's
that's
like,
more for me.
yeah,
Yeah,
I do more damage now.
yeah,
Thank you. Yeah,
yeah,
it's yeah. This team still, after like 2 years, this is still like the team to go through. People still tell me I used General Skywalker and I lost to Darth Revan. Now I get the people know that my take on it because I laugh so hard when people say like General Skywalker loses so much to Darth Revan. Like now I get people are like, dude, check this out. I beat Darth Revan with General Skywalker, like smirking, like, Zareth, you're so wrong, and I'm like, I'm not though. Like,
yeah,
congratulations, you're.
yeah.
Sometimes people win, but
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
rare.
with the Piet version with VS modded for critical chance, I think may stand a chance if you've got a high read relic Dark Trooper. But even then, if your VS doesn't crit on Malik and he gets to assist instead of Piet, then you'll be in trouble in that situation as well. So,
Yeah,
um,
troopers can. There's actually a comp apparently,
yeah, yeah,
but I'm scared. I'm scared of that comp. I might stay away. We'll
yeah,
see. Um, okay, so next up we've got this is one of my favorites. I don't think Endall runs exactly this comp, but I had to include it. General or Jedi Knight Luke with Shakti and Kenobi. And honestly, I was thinking about it. You almost don't need Shock T. Like, just
Yeah,
you can have Hoda, you could have whoever, but the initial construction of this group was Shock T would be in like the 360s of speed. But what would have and then so she would go before any Vader could go, before any Darth Revan, and so she would just she'd call everyone to assist and it'd be over with. But that's now people have Gideon, and it's way easier to get him super fast than Shock T super fast.
yeah,
So
yeah. I would say there are a couple of counters to this team. You have Vader is is the obvious choice over here, and typically in the past, Vader used to struggle with a fast Shakti because there's no way in 3v3 that Vader could outspeed. But now you're right, with the fast Gideon, it's easier to get Gideon faster than Shakti. So if you have him in there in the 360s or so, reduce the enemy turn meter, and with Thrawn, Gideon, and Vader, you don't even need what. With Thrawn, Gideon, and Vader, you can easily manage around this team and get good banners. The other team, which have seen some people have some success with, is highly relict Sith trio: Treya, Scion, and Darth Nihilus. Um, but mine are not. Mine are G12, so I've never really used that counter. But I have seen that counter work against Jedi Knight Luke as well.
yeah, and you're right, that can work. My Jedi Luke has killed a lot of those teams, but that's because, like you said, like the relic disparity is pretty
Yeah,
huge. Like Relic 8 versus Relic 3, like the Treya team is just hapless and sad at that point.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
the the idea here, guys, just to reiterate, like now I don't make my Shock T super fast. I just put Kenobi down, and the reason why is if Vader is going, he's going to Force Crush, and if he crits Luke, then Kenobi just hands him crit immunity, and so Vader is left like, can I do 200k on my saber toss without a crit? Sometimes, but you know, sometimes not. So yeah, it can get dicey. And yeah, this team gets me the most holds out of
Yeah.
any team in the back zone. Honestly, like if I can draw out their Sith Eternal, then this team is money. I mean, sure they can use Ray, or it can be soloed by Supreme Leader Kylo, all the teams, but yeah, this team is money in the bank if you can draw out their Galactic Legends.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, so next one up is actually it's a very well known one already, but it's still it's tried and true. There's not if you mod it right, this team can make a lot of teams struggle, even the counter teams. So it's Commander Luke with 3PO and 2PO, and when I first saw it, I was like, man, that must be weak. But any team in 3v3, like you don't. What I've learned is you don't underestimate C3PO in 3v3. Like he's just ludicrous the way he interacts with people and the way he does things. Like it's pretty funny.
Yeah, and these three have got so much synergy together. I mean, 3PO and Chewie, he's obviously got
Yes.
tons of synergy with 3PO, and because of the Rebel leader, there's so much of stat sharing happening that this team is pretty, bulky and pretty hefty, and it's not that easy to get through it. And they take so much turn and gain so much turn meter that it can get hairy. And yeah, speaking of modding, I always in 3v3, since I keep this team on defense all the time, I go with about 300 speed on Commander Luke Skywalker with a crit avoidance arrow. I think you've also got a crit avoidance arrow with 303 speed,
I
which
do.
is great. That's
And to be clear,
yeah,
that is a really high level of speed with a crit
yeah,
avoid arrow.
yep, yep. It is a little bit of tenacity is also good, but you've got him modded for offense. I think I have him for speed, if I'm not mistaken, or tenacity, something like that.
Gotcha.
But the most important thing is crit avoid, just because the most common counter against this is JTR, and if JTR crits, she inflicts expose, and then you can control the team easily with turn meter reduction and all of that. That's one of the main reasons for crit avoid arrow in there.
Yep, absolutely. And the tenacity is good because it also just denies them the ability to put those debuffs on there. So even
Yeah,
if she does crit, she might not be able to stick the expose on there.
yeah,
Um, And you can see my tenacity is actually 106 is pretty good, especially when you add that with his third Zeta, the one that some people think isn't good, the learn control one, I think,
yeah,
that
yeah.
gives him a base of plus 100% tenacity in his initial stance. And so I have offense mods, but then I also have enough tenacity that he's at 206 to start with. That's
Yeah.
before the Chupio bonus,
Yep,
actually. So
absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah, lots of tenacity on this team. You say you mod your 3PO with tenacity. I haven't done that yet, but you're
My
fancier
3PO
than
and
me.
Chewie, actually, my 3PO and Chewie I mod with Tenacity. My C3PO is currently modded for health and potency, I think.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, he goes into stealth anyway. But yeah, this guy is definitely modded for Tenacity on my side.
Right, yeah, I've got 118. Just because of that stat sharing, guys, he does so much. Like he's giving what 40% of his stats to Luke.
Yeah,
So my Luke's like at 100 or 240 something tenacity. It's ludicrous,
yeah, because
ludicrous speed.
yeah, if you're doing JTR, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to land the ability. You're going to wave at 3PO and Chewie and land the days and ability block, hopefully. But if you've got like I've got mine modded for 160, 170% tenacity before the stat sharing. If you're not able to land that, that counter can get pretty dicey. Although we have seen troopers counter this particular team as well. So then crit avoid doesn't matter because Dark Trooper doesn't care about crit avoid. But yeah, you have to make things as difficult for your opponent as possible.
Absolutely, and this is a good. Honestly, I used this all through 5v5 and had no issues with it either. Like
Yeah,
it's just a nice all around build. So
yeah.
we got to keep moving though, Endall. We've got a deadline, my friend. So
Oh yeah,
um, as much as I love talk, I feel like you and I could just talk. We could just
for
talk for
us.
two
Yeah,
hours
yeah,
about just like 10 teams. It's ludicrous and
yep,
awesome. But yeah, so next up, the question is here, guys. So we're not doing Galactic Legends here, and so it's a little less complicated. But what do you do with Padme, especially in the age of Kenobi? What do you do with Cat? Like Cat goes with them all, but everyone wants a ton of different characters to go with them, and so the idea is. Like, does Kenobi want Ahsoka? Does Kenobi want General Kenobi? Like, who does who want? And at the end of the day, I think like we have two options here. So Padme and JKA go together. Like that,
yeah.
no one needs them specific. Like they can just go together without many people trying to pull them away. The question is who's in that third slot, and I think the answer, if you have her available, is Snips, and if you
Yeah.
don't have her available, it's Barris.
Yeah, Snips is great. I mean, if you have Kenobi, then Snips is great on offense with Kenobi. Just does tremendous amounts of work there. But if you don't have Kenobi, Snips is a great addition over here, especially if you're not keeping GK, just because of the constant assists and protection up. Barris is great if you've got Jedi Knight Anakin modded for health, and that really prevents the Jedi Knight Revan counter against this one, because if you've got Anakin at 100, 110k health with the Padme bonus of extra 50% and with Barris in there, it can make the JKR counter a little tougher.
Yeah, absolutely. And you just have to realize, though, guys. So whenever it's Barris isn't going to be 100% awesome with this team, just because it like she runs on if your opponent gets it applies crits to you,
Yeah,
and the way Padme works though is if you do an out of turn attack on someone. Then you gain a stack. Then that person who's being attacked gains a stack of protection up, and while they have protection up, they can't be crit. And
yeah,
so you'll run into sometimes you're like, man, that was awesome, like I just regenerated all my health, and sometimes you're like, wait, why didn't I regenerate any health? They just did damage, and it's because they're not critting because
yeah,
Padme won't let them. So it's a little erratic, but overall, you're right, and all that does work. Plus, Barris does. One thing that I've come to appreciate is characters that go with Padme, Galactic Republic characters who can have one turn of not attacking so that they can build up their stacks of protection up.
mm,
They get their stacks of courage. And Barris doesn't do like the perfect job, but if you get to a situation where you're like, wow, I got 15 stacks here,
yeah. She
let's
can
just
nuke someone. Yeah,
yeah, you can heal for one turn and then maybe build up to like 20 or 25,
yeah,
and then yeah, like you like just nuke someone exactly. Like
yeah,
this is one of the few times that Barris is actually decent on offense. So
yeah.
um, and I'll just say this: we talked about it a lot. We've talked about it a lot in our last couple times. But Ahsoka has gone from like this zero character where it's like, I guess I'll throw with Padme,
Mm,
to she wants to be every place at once. Like in 3v3 on
yeah,
offense, I love her because she just goes with Jedi. She can she gets all these assists. She does dispels on basic. She heals. She does she can go with Kenobi. She goes with Basti. She goes with Padme.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, very versatile character these days, especially after the release of Kenobi. Really versatile. Having a Jedi 501st and Galactic Republic tag makes her pretty useful.
Yeah, she's fantastic. So the next one up, this one scares me, Endall. You wanted me to put this, and I tentatively agree, but it scares me because Hux with Red and First Order Stormtrooper. There's no denying that it's effective, but there's this big but that Hux is then no longer with Supreme Leader Kylo.
Yes. That is true. I mean, Hux is so amazing on offense, but on defense, this team, Hux's lead is actually pretty underrated. The dominance with the extra counter chance and the extra damage that it gives, especially in 3v3, I have actually lost against this team quite a lot. Hux is one of those leaders like Newt. Sometimes he tends to get overlooked and underrated. And I have lost a couple of times to this team. And if your opponent doesn't it is expensive not keeping him on offense, but if your opponent is running low on teams with Sith Trooper in there and with a taunting tank who counters back, this team can get slightly deadly.
Yeah, it gets gross, man.
Yeah,
I super admire it. I mean, you can use Mothra against it, which is kind of like the at least the Mothra
yeah,
version that I use with K2 and Cassian, that
yeah,
does work for 54 consistently. But if you don't have that, or if you're using
yeah,
Mothra on Grievous, then you're good to go. Like this team requires a serious counter.
yeah, yeah.
Like if it wasn't for this next guy, I'd call him GL Hux maybe. But we have GL Newt instead, the man with no nose, Newt Gunray himself. 5v5, he's kind of like he's impactful in some ways, but he's kind of an afterthought. You're like, I'll just swap him out with Droidica and no one will notice. And everyone's like, wait, there was supposed to be Newt there? I didn't notice. So um but 3v3, totally different game. He
Yeah.
is so deadly.
He is, and especially with now that most people have an R7 Django,
Ugh.
starting with the damage immunity and with Prophet giving him extra offense and all of that, and extra speed boosts and all, Django can get disgusting. He can one-shot someone right off the bat. And with B1 in there also getting the offensive boot and acting as a healer, this team can get pretty hairy.
It really can. And if you want B1 somewhere else, you can swap them out for L3 because L3 has the synergy for
Yeah,
scoundrels with both Django and Newt. I think B1 probably gets the nod because it's this whole team is invulnerable in a lot of different ways. Like Django just starts without any way to be killed, really, except for
yeah,
like an annihilate, which usually takes time to build. Newt has to be killed twice, and B1 can't be killed with like straight damage. He has to be
yeah.
killed through attrition. And so this team is super rough, and I told we're retaking this so I can tell the story again. Like there was this time I remember watching a guy who was streaming. He made a big deal of his Night Sisters team. He's like, look at this Daka, like she's at like 140k health. Like this is a big deal, and like 140k on Daka is pretty substantial. And so he's like, I think we're good here. And then like one of the very first moves, Django just like steps up and rockets her. Like it's the second move, so it's a little into the fight. I'm sure they did a little damage to her, but he just rockets her and she just dies. And it's permadeath because it's Django. And
Yeah.
I just died laughing. Like I wish I had like made a video of it. It's just
That's Yeah, that's hilarious. Yeah, the offense on Django is through the
oh
roof.
man.
The version I like to use is Poggle Django and B1, but
Sure.
similar idea over here with Newt as well. In fact, Newt on defense can get a little more scary. Poggle on offense is what I prefer with Django and B1, but same idea.
Yeah, and that absolutely does work too. Okay, so we've got the social contract team. It's still good. It's not as good as it has been. It still holds the line sometimes. Fin Poe, they've got a backup Finn. And it's good because he gives them so many stats, and the hero bros are just good on their own.
Yeah, and Hero Finn is one other guy that I like to boost up the speed from 5v5 to 3v3 just because of this team. I mean, it can be taken out easily with Han and Chewie, with any
Sure.
rebel or scoundrel leader, but at least, I mean, if that at least means that you've pulled one great team out of the mix, and that reduces the options for your opponent. So, anything which can draw out a JKR or a Chewie and Han or a gas. All of that is a win in my opinion on defense.
Absolutely. And if you do your homework and you scout your opponent, which is free, and you see that they like to use Han and Chewie on this team, like I do. You can also, or you can use troopers on this team as well. If you put Nest as the lead, I know she doesn't have a leadership, but she'll shut down troopers in 3v3 cold. Like she's just like halt,
Yeah.
you know. She's like Gandalf, and Han and Chewie's like the Balrog. You know, it's just like you shall not pass, except more epic. Like it's really cool. And that can be highly problematic for someone. I would recommend keeping this team in on defense a lot, and then surprising your good opponent who's
Hmm.
going to rely on this team being there, and
Yeah.
then you just bait and switch, and they're like, oh, I suddenly don't have a counter to this team. I guess I lose. It's
Yep.
fancy.
Yep.
All right, so we didn't know what to do with Night Sisters. They're great on offense, great on defense, not good at banners. And what we ended up deciding on, folks, was this team. You can do tons of different stuff. So not trying to just say this is the only good team, but Asajj with Zombie Spirit. There is a lot more here than meets the eye. There's damage. There's turn meter manipulation. There's like double fast taunt on in 3v3. What else, Endall?
Well, yeah, I mean the turn meter manipulation is great because there's a couple of things. One is Asajj on her lead reduces the enemy turn meter every time they take damage. Secondly, they gain turn meter every time they fall below 100% health, which happens a lot. Typically, under Talzin lead, zombie can be, she can be killed twice very easily and get two stacks down. In with Asajj lead, that's more difficult, especially in 3v3. So this team will be going really fast, getting tons of turn meter, and you need a permanent death like a bounty hunter like Django or Boba, or you need someone with isolate abilities, or yeah, it's difficult to get around this particular team. So you need to take something heavy against it.
Yeah, this team. I think that my favorite memory of this, and I hope he's watching this, but my buddy Iabatoire, when we played in 3v3, this is the time he beat me. But the one of the highlights of it was this team held against his Bosk Django Boba team,
Mm.
actually, which is crazy. I also have a video, actually. Someone took a Padme team with it was like Padme, GK, and Jedina Anakin against this team, and Spirit one shot GK. It's just like this team is no joke. Honestly, like this was my first Relic 5 actually. Spirit was
Yeah,
one of my first relics just because no one knew the Spirit was good. Like, and you just one shot people. It's awesome.
yeah, yeah,
Um, okay, so we have the token Grievous squad. There's almost nothing to say. Like everyone's got a counter to Grievous at this point, but I feel like this is the best mix and match of like,
yeah,
okay, B1 can go somewhere else. You know, we can put you don't need to spend Watt here. Like that's a waste, etc.
yeah.
This it's
Yeah, yeah.
okay.
This is a good enough comp because the B1 B2 version can be taken out pretty easily by Bosk Mando bounty hunters. So that's a very cheap counter to Grievous. This one is demands a slightly. I mean, it can still be taken out easily by JKR, but it at least demands a slightly more expensive counter than bounty hunters.
Yeah, this is a good team. Oh, good enough. Like
Yeah,
whatever. It's a team that makes the list, I guess.
yeah,
Like you got to use Grievous somewhere, and
yeah,
that's an okay place.
yeah.
All right. So next, I really liked this. If you guys saw our offense video and you actually were able to listen to it, we talked a little bit about who Bad Batch, what 3v3 team it was going to be, and we said a lot of times like you want Wreckers sometimes on offense with the main team because he can hand out that defense up and etc. That's better on offense, but Tech also is really good. But if you decide to use Tech on the offense side, then Wrecker actually has a decent home here. If you want to go with the leftover clones, the Relic 5 clones that nobody uses, this isn't bad
Yeah.
on defense.
Yeah, I mean, before I had Bad Batch, I used to use Cody, Clone Sarge, and Arc Trooper in here. But now that I'm using Ahsoka elsewhere, I'm using Arc Trooper with my 501st with my gas. And Wrecker, I've also got him relicked up to 3. He does a pretty decent job over there. He taunts decently well. He, gives a tons of bonuses to other clones. His clones are, I mean, his bonuses do have some Bad Batch specific bonuses, but he's got tons of clone specific bonuses as well, defense up and protection recovery and all of that. So he fits in pretty well over here if you're using a 3 Bad Batch characters elsewhere on offense, for example.
Yeah, I like this. This is, use the whole buffalo kind of approach.
Yeah, yeah.
So like one quick answer. Do you have the Cody Zeta?
I do. Yes, I do. From back
Okay.
from the tank days.
All right. I don't, but I'm questioning my wisdom. So, all right. So the next one, you don't have to run this team, but I like it. You have Dengar with Nest and L3. This is kind of a timeout team with teeth though,
Yeah.
because that leadership on Dengar, of course, it impacts your all opponents. So it doesn't he has other synergies with bounty hunters, but you don't have to have bounty hunters with him. It just minus 50% crit damage and with a resilient Relic 7 Tenacious Nest and an L3 that has synergy with Scoundrels.
Oh yeah.
This team can be really annoying, really frustrating.
It can, yeah. And Enfys Nest is goes well with any team which has got stealth synergy, Maul or Dengar in this particular case, or even Dooku sometimes if you want to use that. That's why this team can get quite problematic on defense because you you really don't you really don't know you have to you have a specific counter to take against this, and anything where you can limit the options of your opponent on offense, that makes a great defensive team because you can't really use any attrition based team, any assist based team to take this particular thing out, and you can't even classify this as a timeout team. So you need something to take it out quick, and you need something substantial to take this out.
Yeah, Nest will just straight up kill you. Like she'll just rip your
Yeah.
face off, or at the very least steal all your banners before you
Yep.
like, you like collapse to the wall with like a whoo, I won for
Yeah.
49. You know,
Yeah.
and I'm like, whoo, I won because you beat it for 49.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, now the last team, and we kind of combined a lot of these with what we were going to do in on offense, and so you can watch that video. Watch it with the subtitles on and maybe the sound off or something. But we didn't want to get it too far in the weeds. Like the Dengar one is stretching it a little bit. If you have those guys relic, then great. But the last one we wanted to talk about, a lot of people have Darth Maul and Dooku relic because of the Sith Eternal requirements, and um, if you have enough Zetas to spare, like Maul's Zeta isn't terrible. Even in 3v3, it's fine. And then we have OG Kylo here. I'll let Endall kind of talk about that.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, Mall lead is great if you combine a couple of Sith with a non-Sith, someone who can be left out in the open. I've used Nest over here in the past, Wampa sometimes, and Kylo Ren actually fits in pretty well as well, especially if you've got other users for your crew and First Order, and you don't know what to do with your Kylo Ren. Put him in there because he's got stacking offense, stacking defense. He can recover his protection. He applies healing immunity on basic. And this team again has got tons of debuffs. There's days, there's healing immunity, there's ability blocks, stuns, shock. So you will need something with tenacity up or something with a lot of cleanses to be able to take it out. So again, another team which limits the option of your opponent on offense.
Yep, and you pointed out in the last video, another great candidate instead of OG Kylo would be Nest, just because she doesn't go into stealth when Maul pulls everyone into stealth, and
Yep,
so you have to hit her. She hits back. It's gross.
yep, yep.
So, that being said, Endall, we've got another stream to get into. So I think we're going to leave it here, folks. Endall, thank you so much for re recording this with me. The community owes you one. Guys, the community, please go follow Endall. It's in the video description. Do yourselves a favor. Great content. Excited to see you've got a new production value element about to enter the scenes here pretty soon. I won't spoil it more than that, but um, yeah, thank you so much, Indal. And is there any last words of wisdom you'd like to impart?
No, nothing else for now. Thanks for having me on. This is great. Looking forward to a new season of 3v3 with JMK Cat. Excited to see what the community brings about.
Awesome, man. Guys, thank you all so much for watching. And remember that in all things, Wampas prevail,